Well, a different sort of week, Mark, in that you haven't had the midweek fixture. Has it just been nice to mix it up a bit and have a change of routine?
Yeah, definitely. I think it was nice for everyone to have a Sunday without thinking about a Tuesday. The boys that had played all the games had Sunday, Monday off, and then everybody else was in for a good session Monday. Tuesday was a challenging day because the conditions made the pitches difficult, let's say, wet. So that was a tough day, and then lads were off yesterday, and then we've got a couple of days now. So the forecast today isn't so bad. It looks a little bit bright. It's dried out a little bit, so we hopefully get some work done tomorrow. Today, knowing that tomorrow might be impossible to even step out the door because the elements of the 70-mile-an-hour wind speeds due at our training ground in the morning. So we'll see what that does to us tomorrow. But just nice to have a break from that, and hopefully that creates a freshness in the players, physically, mentally, everything, just to go and attack the next batch of games. Obviously, got 5 games in the next sort of fortnight, and a tough one on Saturday against Accrington. Myself and Martin Davies were 5 miles from Hillsborough last night when that got postponed. So that was 5 hours wasted in the car, frustrating, because we hoped to come in today a little bit brighter in knowledge of Accrington, but missed the opportunity last night. So we'll work with what we've got.
It's amazing, isn't it? All of the different challenges in a season. And you've been talking about how you get into this winter period, and the games often have a certain type of feel with the weather and the quality of the pitches. Do you think once you get through the next couple of weeks with the midweeks, and I know the weather clearly has a big say in this, but once you get through the winter period, all being well?
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, it's been a funny year, and it's been a fairly mild winter. It doesn't feel as if we've had too many issues. We're middle of February and there's not been games called off at all yet for bad conditions in terms of the weather. This could be the first weekend where it happens up and down the country, looking at what's happening. So it's unusual that we've got to this point without any issues in that sense. So maybe that will change. I think definitely you can look up and down the country. You see that there's a lot of pitches in our level and other levels that have gone. The conditions have been really challenging, and the games become not quite as enjoyable to watch or as easy on the eye as some of the other games. So roll your sleeves up. Who fancies it? It's that time of year, really. We had an excellent January, done okay in the last few weeks, and we're trying to keep building on that over the next couple. But I think usually once you get that December to Feb period can be a grind, and then you get into March, you can see the end point, which comes around sooner than ever before this year. We get the next 5 games out of the way in the next fortnight. We're into March. There's 10 games to go, 5 home, 5 away. So that will run away quite quickly. So we know that the next fortnight's important for us to try and get some more points on the board and go into that final 10 games in a strong position.
Do you think Accrington on Saturday will have a similar feel to the recent games against Burton and Gillingham, in that they're that sort of really competitive side and they don't give an inch, and it's likely the conditions will be challenging as well?
Yeah, the forecast at the minute seems to be a bit better on Saturday, but normally 3 o'clock on Saturday at the Abbey becomes quite breezy. So we'll be well prepared for it, having trained in it all week. So we'll just see what happens. I mean, Accrington are a really competitive, fierce team. Had a couple of good results recently. I think they'd have gone into that game in really good form, if you like. Last week against Crewe was an excellent victory, and they've got power in the team, strength, good size in their side. We saw all of that early on in the season. We played them early on, but we struggled physically with them on that day. We had to change the team around a little bit for that. Grew into the game, got stronger as the game went on, and probably deserved something out of it in the end with our second half performance. But in many respects, some of the games we've played recently, we're probably preparing for a similar sort of beast against us this weekend. We know the physicality that they bring to the game. They've got attacking threats in the team. They're a super team on set plays. They scored all 4 goals against Crewe last week off set plays. So in some similarities to some of the games we've played recently, there'll be some elements of the game that we're going to have to make sure that we're really up for and fancy that physical challenge, because there will be scruffy parts in the game that we've got to do well, and we've got to deal with their real threats in the game. They've got some good players, and then as always, we've got to make sure we are productive with the ball that we have, because we know we can create chances, and we've got to be a clinical team that does the best we can with what we get.
Yeah, no surprise to see Accrington well placed at this stage. They've done a brilliant job. You can, I think, really describe them as established in League One now. And one of the things they seem to do really well when you're a club of that size, you know you're going to lose players, but they've done a brilliant job of getting further quality in.
They do a brilliant job. John Coleman's done an unbelievable job there, and you know you can look back over time where they've come from. But like you say, they're a well-established, well-deserving of their position in League One, and very often a top half team, and you know have a fight for the playoffs in some years. So there's no doubt, despite losing goals with Boyd going to Bolton and a number of years, you know, I guess one of the consequences of being a smaller club is it's hard to keep your best players all the time. You know, they sold Burgess to Ipswich earlier in the season as well. So they've reinvested the money really well. The stadium looks better every time you go there. I think the change rooms are getting done at the moment. So they're making real good progress, and they're a great model for smaller clubs with small natural resources to look at and to try and emulate, because they are a well-established team that have done well. And recruitment-wise, they've always used the loan market really well, and they've always used recruiting from non-league really well as well, in an area where they can get some really good players. So yeah, I mean, we're full of respect for the job that they've done there and continue to do. I think we know how difficult the game will be, but it's a game that we've got to go and try and get the upper hand in.
Just looking at your injury list, from what you were saying, Lloyd Jones and Greg Taylor at the front of the queue at the moment. Is that roughly where you're at?
Greg's certainly making some good progress. He's training a lot. Lloyd was ill early in the week, so we're seeing him for the first time today. So that just sets him back a little bit, but he's training well. So hopefully he's not too far from making a squad. We've got an additional game next week for a lot of the younger players against Charlton, which Greg will play a part in, to try and build up some minutes and get him in games, because it's a big leap from training in small-sided games to playing 11v11 games in League One. So we need to try and gradually build him up. Liam O'Neill obviously played last Tuesday at Gillingham. He hasn't been on the grass too much since, but he's back out again today properly. So hopefully he's fit to play a part at the weekend. Jensen Weir's gone back with Brighton for a little bit, just to have a change of scenery really, and get a little bit more hands-on care with the number of staff and facilities they've got there. So hopefully he's not too far away from returning to us and returning to training, but he's not quite on the grass yet. He's doing a lot of work in the pool on the anti-gravity running machine. So hopefully his knee settles down in that period. And Shiloh's had a really good training week and is making good progress. But again, we need to see how he reacts over the next week, and hopefully at some point very soon we can see him as part of it.
Yeah, I guess it's inevitable with the loan players that their parent clubs, when you get an injury, do tend to play a big part. And with a club like Brighton, they're going to have loads of different facilities that you can call upon. Yeah,
I mean, we did joke last week that he could do some aqua work in the puddles on the training ground here, but he could go back and use the pool facilities there. So we thought it was a better environment for him to go to. So, yeah, we've had a lot of players injured. I mean, Mikey and the medical staff have got a lot of players to deal with. So for him to go and get that a care and attention, and almost that change of scenery where he's got the best environment to work in, that will hopefully speed that up and take away some of his frustrations. But hopefully, hopefully he's not too far away from returning.
And we've spoken about this in the context of other clubs. Often when we're looking at sides you're going to face, they've got one or two key players out, often one or two for quite a period of time. This season, relative to last season for yourselves, the injury list is much longer. Do you think the cumulative impact of the COVID schedule and everything that's happened over the past couple of years, is that a big factor as to why you've got so many injuries?
Yeah, I mean, potentially, but I'm not sure it is. I think if they were muscular injuries, you could maybe put that together, or training programs. But Jack Iredale's done his ankle in a tackle. Joe Ironside's done his ankle in a tackle. Greg Taylor's done his ankle in a tackle. Shiloh Tracy's done his ankle in a tackle. So a lot of the injuries are fairly catastrophic in contact situations. So I guess they're just par for the course. Last year we were fortunate in that sense. The game might be a bit more physically intense this year because there's crowds in the stadium, so that may have made an impact on those situations potentially. But in the main, I think the injuries are fairly unfortunate ones, and lots of them have ended up being long term. And as you know, they've all sort of come at the same time, which you can never plan around. So yeah, frustrating in that sense. But hopefully we're seeing some light at the end of the tunnel with those boys.
And just a quick word on Paul Digby, who right from day one has been a brilliant player for this club and played such a big part in the promotion last season. A sense though that he's stepped it up even further over the past few weeks. He's looking increasingly comfortable on the ball. He's making a real impression in those sorts of areas. It's been a good period for him.
I mean, we don't score the first goal at Burton without him doing what he does, drives on, energy, forward pass, then makes the box for a header at the back post. I think he gives us so much with and without the ball. He's improving all the time as well. I think improvement's possible for every player at any age, and he's a case in point in that. And I think that his influence since he's been here is really obvious for everybody to see and hear. And in recent weeks, you know, he started doing a bit of coaching with the youth team because he's working through his coaching badges and starting to take a real interest in that. He's a great leader in the sense that he spends time with everybody and has a good knowledge of everyone over the club. And he's a brilliant role model to everybody else and a real help to me, firstly, but also just a massive player in our team. And I think his performances throughout the season have been very good. We've seen in the past, you know, Accrington in the first game of the season, he played centre half in that game because of the issues that we had there. And you miss him when he's not in the middle of the pitch. There's no doubt we missed him when he's not available. So he's having a brilliant season, and we're delighted with how he's handled this challenge, stepping up to another level.
Yeah, and a good example more generally with recruitment of how you can find players who, for whatever reason, it hasn't quite happened for them in their careers. They maybe need a bit of a home. There are one or two in your squad where you've managed to do that and really eke the best out of them.
Yeah, that was our squad last year, to be honest. Maybe the only one was Wes, but you can go through pretty much every other signing that we've made or players that we've kept, players that have had a difficult time, a difficult spell, it not gone well, not quite fulfilled their potential yet, or been doubted by everybody that they can't do it. So that was our story last year, from manager all the way through the team. And that was what we built our story off of, really. And that continues to develop, which is great.
Cool, that's great for me.
Mark, just while Pete's on the subject of individuals, just a quick word about Harrison Dunk. I mean, he's come through a season where perhaps people didn't necessarily expect him to play such a major part. Through injury, gets into the team, stepped up, and despite playing potentially out of position, he has just had a fantastic season so far. You
can guarantee Tim Armitage' question is going to be about Harrison Dunk. It's a battle, though, Tim, for who loves him more. I wrote a page about him in a book. He's great, isn't he? No one's surprised by him as a character because he's just been here forever, so we know him so well. I think in the early part of the season, Jack was playing so well, and then through necessity, the team changed and Jack added a real dimension to us at centre-back. And Harrison's come in the team and played an incredible run of consistent games and has played really well. And I think the break will have done him good this week, like a lot of the boys. But I think his attitude to the team, you need people in your team that can set your culture, and players like him and Paul Digby and many others, just every day behave in the way that you want this place to be about, and they give you what you want in your team. I think when your team go on the pitch, you want a reliability about them. You want to know what you're going to get from them. You want to know that even if it's a tough day, they'll still stick at it and go the distance. I think that's what supporters expect and love seeing in a team. It's certainly what I want to see in our team. And Dunks epitomises that. And I've said that many times before. So we're really pleased with the progress that he's made. You know, he's a player that joined us a long time ago and might not have seen League One as a level that he and we would play at. And he's taken to it really well. So we're delighted with that.
Cheers.
Hi, Mark. You mentioned about Paul Digby doing his coaching badges there. Is that kind of a unique situation, a player doing coaching badges, or are a few of them looking at it?
There's not many looking at it here. A lot of our older senior ones are studying and involved doing degrees. You know, Liam O'Neill, Greg Taylor, Harrison Dunk, all doing degrees and courses elsewhere in other fields. One, because I think that's a good way of spending some of your time, and they're super intelligent lads that want to develop themselves and prepare for life after football if football stops or they don't see coaching, for example, as an outcome. We've had it in the past. Barry Core did it, and that was the starting point for him. He was working there, and then that developed into working in the academy and moving his way through to obviously now working with us. So Paul's one that's taken it on. I think back previous years, there's been a lot of players that have done it. Gary Deegan, off the top of my head, who's gone out and is coaching now. And there's a number of lads over the years that have done it. And we've got good academy staff that are quite open to helping them and supporting them. We've got FA mentors that come in and spend time with them. So Diggers went out and did a session last Thursday afternoon with a youth team and took that and was fed back to from the FA, and he's going for his B licence at the moment. So I think it's something that interests him. I think it's a really good way of spending some of your time, and the best time to prepare for what comes after football is while you're playing, because you do have some time where you can do that, and I think that's sensible. I also think for older players, you start to see the game a bit differently, and it can make you a more rounded player and also a more rounded individual in terms of understanding others a little bit, rather than just thinking about your own game. You start to see the whole game a little bit wider. So hopeful that if that continues for him and it's something that interests him, that'll only make him better as a leader and as a coach, as a player, sorry.
Yeah. Have you spoken to, has he spoken to you about where he might want to go with it? Has he got a clear goal in mind? No,
not really. It's I think it's early days for him in that sense. So I think it's just get some hours together, get your qualifications and see how it goes. I mean, we've had very little time since the turn of the year to spend much time on anything other than the team. But as things settle down, we'll be able to try and find that. And we're such an open coaching team. Like we'll spend time with the players and help them with any of that. So from his sense, he knows that if he wants anything from us, we'll help him and the academy also.
You've had a relentless, a relentless schedule in the early part of this year. You've got a full week, or you've had a full week this week. What have you been able to do on Monday and Tuesday that you may have wanted to do, but you've just been doing match prep from game to game?
Yeah, not as much as we'd have liked. I mean, Monday was a working session for those that needed it. Tuesday, we wanted to work some of our attacking play in and around the box. But if you saw the conditions and the pitch surface, it was not easy to work on quick play around the penalty area because there was a lot of puddles and a lot of mud. So in the end, it was okay. We got the best out of it. The lads worked. They quite enjoyed it. It was like playing down the park. Yeah, we've had a little bit. I think the biggest thing that's most important this week is, you know, a few weeks back, I'd have seen this week as a real opportunity to get on the grass and work and train and practice. But the reality is these players need a week where it's an unload week, really, and they're not doing too much. They're just letting all the knocks and bruises and twists and everything that they've picked up in the last 6 weeks settle down, and hopefully just re-energising themselves, ready for another busy fortnight. So we'll get a little bit of prep work done on Accrington over the next couple of days, play some small games and work our set plays and restarts and things. But other than that, we just want to try and arrive at the game in the best physical and mental place we can do.
And how's the pitch looking at the Abbey as well?
I haven't been over there since I haven't seen it in daylight anyway, put it that way. So I don't know. The last time I saw it was in the Youth Cup last week when it rained for the whole game, which was really frustrating, and it went on for 120 minutes. But I'm sure it'll be drying out. I mean, the one thing, it's so windy at the minute, that probably helps, and I'm sure it will be okay. It's held up quite well so far, certainly in comparison to some of the other pitches that we've seen.
You mentioned about Jensen Weir going back as well. Can you say how long he's going back for to Brighton?
No, I can't. It literally, as soon as he's out running on the grass, I don't think it'll be too long. Yeah, I mean, we've thought that all along. It's just taking a long time for his knee to settle down and to feel comfortable. So as soon as he's back out on the grass, he'll be back in with us. So no idea on that, but hopefully it's a very short period of time.
And is Greg Taylor now back on the bench moving forward? He had the Gillingham game where he didn't make the bench, but was back on the bench for Burton. Is he now part of your squad?
He's probably not ready for games yet. He needs to play in the practice games that we've got and the younger games that we've got. And we need to understand that it's going to take him a bit of time to get back to his level. But he's certainly contributing to the team, contributing to the squad and training fully now. So, yeah, we're hopeful that over the next few weeks we can start to see how he responds to the games that he's going to play. And as and when we need him on the bench, we'll certainly have him there.
Cheers, Mark.